Robert Desmarais here, citizen of New Orleans, where we've all been a little delirious because we've won the 2010 Super Bowl. We have elected an enormously popular man as our new mayor, and we have just celebrated the most joyful carnival we have ever had. On the day after Mardi Gras, even non-Catholics in New Orleans wore the black ashes on their forehead, drawn by the power of the priest's words as he applies the ashes. Remember, man, you are dust, and unto dust you will return. The somber character of those words play a solemn chord in anyone's heart. So on Ash Wednesday, we became somber and serious as quickly as the flick of a switch. We immediately got serious this year about city planning. Ever since the federal flood after Katrina in 2005, we have been arguing with the hostility of disaffected siblings the future development of over 200 acres in the heart of New Orleans. The tone of these arguments has led to mutual insults based on evaluation of a single building, Charity Hospital. As much a part of Louisiana's heritage as that may be, it's not possible to say that one building alone would create so much heat and so little light. The real conflict is not about Charity Hospital. All the arguments have to do with site selection for a 21st century world-class biomedical research center and teaching hospital in New Orleans. City, state, business, and people all want a state-of-the-art medical corridor in New Orleans, but there has been bitter disagreement about site selection and long-term financing. Behind the acrimony has stood the majesty and power of Louisiana's flagship university, Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, LSU. LSU, for mysterious and suspicious reasons, decided to abandon New Orleans' historic medical district around Charity Hospital and relocate a newly designed complex several blocks away. Here on this map is the historic medical district. It is outlined in red. It is a vast stretch of about 100 blocks, for the most part already committed to medical treatment, research, and education. Charity Hospital is only one building in the complex, and it also includes Tulane and LSU medical schools, the Veterans Administration Hospital, and Delgado and Charity nursing schools. For many of us, this district in red is the logical site for a 21st century world-class biomedical research center. LSU already has a large, complex, and stylish contemporary design with skyways linking individual buildings. Many properties in this district are vacant or blighted by nondescript structures that should have been demolished years ago, and replacing them would enhance the city immediately. Instead, LSU decided to locate its new complex several blocks away in a historic residential district where there is no medical institution history whatsoever and where private homes and businesses must be expropriated by eminent domain. Here on the second map, the historic medical district is shown again in red, and the sites proposed for LSU and the Veterans Administration are outlined in black and green. Clearly, if the medical institutions abandon the historic medical district, blight will proliferate in that area. Fantasies about new construction there of condominiums and other such privately financed projects in the abandoned district are just that, fantasies and projects. There are no concrete plans, and degradation there will be immediate. LSU has conducted a propaganda campaign against its opponents, portraying us as nostalgic sentimentalists. The governor's office, the LSU administration, and some in the New Orleans business community have silenced, libeled, or ignored the proponents of the historic medical district. In one indication of the mysteriously suspicious forces at work, the City Council colluded with the university on December 20, 2007 by prohibiting issuance of building permits in the LSU footprint. Their properties therefore declined in value over the subsequent 2 years, making them, of course, less expensive for the state to purchase upon expropriation. In another indication of suspiciously mysterious forces at work, the City Planning Commission and the City Council called no public hearings about the future planning of this vast territory. Even though many meetings, well attended by business, university, and government leaders, had been held, transparency, and citizen participation were totally ignored. Without citizen participation, discussions have been as murky as the sewer water that flooded my basement after the federal flood of 2005. Finally, in February 2010, the City Planning Commission announced a public hearing. However, the topic was limited to a resolution to close specific streets within the LSU footprint, No discussion of the project itself, no discussion of the obvious alternative in the historic medical district, no discussion of immoral and possibly illegal expropriations, no discussion of any matters that require clarification before even thinking of street closures. Still, it was the first formal action by any government body on the subject, so interest was high. Lester Johnson, chairman of the commission, tersely laid down the ground rules, giving the distinct impression that he found it distasteful to have to face a real public. 40 minutes for each side, then only LSU would have 20 minutes for rebuttal. Chairman Johnson had also scheduled the meeting for 1:30 in the afternoon, making it inconvenient for citizens. The commission's disdain for the citizens of New Orleans could not have been clearer. At the end of the hearing, Chairman Johnson dismissively refused permission to 15 or so residents of the threatened neighborhood to speak. He said, "I, for one, can say I'm not happy about involving the Planning Commission so late in the process that at some point we have to move on. However, from my seat in the chamber, it was obvious that the commission had been involved in the process from the very beginning, all of it behind closed doors. The morning of the meeting, I had studied the much ballyhooed master plan, which we in New Orleans foolishly gave the force of law last year. On the City Planning Commission map in the master plan, the LSU site was already designated as a medical site, even though no medical institutions have ever been located there. At the end of the meeting, the commission voted 6-1 to close the public streets for LSU, showing itself to be a pathetic marionette troupe only playing at democracy. Ron Foreman, president of the Audubon Institute, stated to the press after the hearing that neighborhood associations, planning groups, and historic preservationists should, as a response to this vote, simply stand down. Greg Rusevich, chairman of the Business Council of New Orleans and the River Region, and a lengthy list of prominent businessmen agreed. They clearly intended to create the impression that developers were finally in charge of city planning, and the preservationists had to give way. Yes, I recall from my reading that in the throes of the Great Depression of the 30s, when citizens of New Orleans were losing jobs, homes, and dignity due to the fabled financial shenanigans of the business community of the day, the preservationists blocked developers' plans to demolish the French Quarter. New Orleans' worldwide reputation is disproportionate to its small size among the cities of the world, and our primary business today, tourism, depends on music, cuisine, joie de vivre, and preservationist city planning. Again in the 60s, Mayor Moon Landrieu proposed a riverfront expressway through the French Quarter. I was in the crowd when we stopped the project, and now the riverfront is being developed as an integral part of the city. Great and good men occasionally have bad ideas. Preservationist intuition has often led to successful financial returns. In the heart of every astute preservationist, there is an intuitive businessman. And in the heart of every foresighted businessman, there is an intelligent preservationist. Failure to proceed with caution is the peril of the city. LSU's choice of site has been like another flood brought into the city, this time by a hurricane named LSU, and funneled into downtown by the poorly constructed flood walls of the City Planning Commission and the City Council. It is time to reconstruct the flood walls, and the murky waters must be drained into the historic medical district. There, a spectacularly contemporary world-class biomedical center could be built on land high enough to rise above the waters. As the new French Quarter is the icon of New Orleans' past, this new medical district will be an icon of New Orleans' future. LSU's project of abandoning the medical district and demolishing by unjust expropriation will create not growth but decay, not progress but blight, and not the joy of a Super Bowl victory but the anger of disdained and disrespected citizenry. The choice is ours.